Welcome to Left Footers. We've survived Christmas and the New Year's, and we're in a new year, and it's getting cold.
I can see so much more clearly in 2020.
Oh, can you now? Is that why you're wearing glasses?
No, it's 2020.
But what do you mean? I don't get that. I don't see what you're saying. Maybe my prescription is a little off. Maybe you need to be more prescriptive in your speaking.
Father Marc, not getting the dad joke whatsoever.
I got it. I just not going with it.
No,
What?
My dad bod is reacting to your dad joke.
Your dad pod or dad bod?
Bod.
Bod, okay. I just want to be clear.
Glad we're all back together.
So Michael, I've been waiting all year to find out what you think about the new Star Wars. The last rise of whatever.
The Last Rise of Jedi Awakens.
Yes, which is the shortened version. It's about 15 minutes. It's without plot.
Ironically, you could probably do everything that they've added to the story in about 15 minutes from this whole trilogy.
People keep telling me they know me. No one does.
But I do.
It felt like the rough draft of like an essay is what it felt like to me. I'm like,
That's fair.
So all the good stuff is in there. They just somebody else needed to read the script and just kind of clean it up. That somebody needed to edit the script. I thought there was some incredible components to the Star Wars movie.
There was great fan kind of stuff.
Lots of fan service.
Yep.
An epic space battle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, with lots and lots of spaceships. Those red stormtroopers.
I wish it was more Avengers Endgame in terms of the wow at the end when stuff showed up that was not completely expected to show up. It could have been so much better there, but it was like you cheered, but there wasn't like cheering in the audience. And maybe I wasn't at the right place.
It was like the 85%. That's that part that needs to be edited. You know, make it like the.
Yeah, just to me, it was victim of not great writing. And that I think that's been sort of a symptom of this whole trilogy. Is that, I mean, not that Star Wars' writing has ever been epically Oscar worthy or anything like that, but you know, in episode 7, you repeated everything that had been done before. In episode 8, you did nothing that had been done before. In episode 9, it just felt like, in spite of the fact that they took 2.5 years to release this movie, like they needed another 6 months to work on the script. It's just, that was my feeling. Because there were some really good pieces in there.
Oh yeah.
Some really great twists. I thought, you know.
It had the elements of possible good writing. They just put in too much stuff that repeated itself. Yeah.
I also thought they did a masterful job of keeping Carrie Fisher in the story without doing any real editing. You know, like they used stuff they already had. And, you know, it meant that she didn't have a whole lot to contribute, but I thought it was still really, really well done. That's my, how did you feel about it, Father Marc?
Well, friends of mine got me to go through it 3 times. When I first saw it the first time, I realized, this is not utter crap, so I could go see it again. So it wasn't utter crap. I did watch.
It wasn't a cow movie?
Cow? No.
Not
cow.
utter crap?
No, it was no utter crap.
Okay.
So no cow poo at all. But I watched because I thought I should. I watched The Last Jedi over again. I was like, wow, it's a lot of whining. Like, a lot of whining, but that might be the Skywalker.
I was gonna say that's typical. Anakin whines, Luke whines, The Last Jedi whines. It's
It just isn't fair. Oh, Biggs is right. I'm never gonna get out of here.
What? How can you do this? This is outrageous. It's unfair.
Maybe they need more money.
Please donate to the Disney charity that Father Marc's going to found following this episode.
Please write a good script, Sara. I want a real movie.
Well, Disney, that being said, did you saw Star Wars?
Yeah. I'm not you both know I'm not the biggest Star Wars. Like, I like Star Wars, but I'm more the like fanatic that came at the end.
So you put thumbs up when you watch the stuff about it, but you don't put hearts.
I couldn't say I'm like an extra.
You don't heart Star Wars?
Sure.
She's got a little Leia Jedi sticker on the window in the back of her car. It's just, nothing major like that.
Yeah, just like that. But I could definitely, so I could see I liked it because I was playing into a lot of the ties and fan favorites and great. But then there was definitely some plot holes. How did this just all of a sudden happen to this character? And how did that no one explained it. Okay, let's go on. And then,
Poorly edited essay.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah. Like they were trying to, like everything, if you try to accommodate
I
too
think
many
it's
people.
part of the
it's not
problem.
good.
They were trying to solve the problems of the last movie.
That's
They
true.
should have just kind of pretend and just have a disclaimer at the very beginning as the paragraph rolls over. They just say, the last movie didn't happen. We should have a Jedi raise it. The last movie did not happen.
Ray wakes up, gets out of the ship, and walks up the hill to hand Luke the lightsaber and starts all over again.
I'm sure that the last director would have known that.
What a dream that was.
But many of the Star Wars fans would be incredibly happy about that. But I've also seen a couple other good films. I've been watching different things and stuff like that. Saw The Two Popes, which was really, really good. And so I quite enjoyed that. I did a review for that. And so it was neat. It was.
I can no longer sit on the chair of St. Peter.
You're mistaken. You are.
Silence! I cannot play this role anymore.
I mean, people are critical of it in different ways, but I think it's neat the conversation that was had between the two, albeit it's a fictional conversation.
Yeah.
Most likely never happened. But
I feel
thought-
like when you say it's neat, it's like a good disclaimer to be like, it is entirely fictional. And we have no idea if this is actually what a conversation would have gone down.
But the thing is that we have to say that about a movie. It all kind of makes me wonder. They used to tell me it was a true story, based on a true story. And then it became less and less based on a true story. Faction of it close to a true story. They don't even bother to say it anymore. They just kind of like, it's a movie, dude. If you don't know this, then you're in the wrong theater.
Well, it raises two good points, right? So Bishop Barron, in his review of Two Popes, said he thought it did a really good job of portraying the humanity of Pope Francis.
Yes.
And missed a good chunk of what we'd want to know about Benedict's background, because you have to pick and choose when you do a story like that. But when we're coming up on 7 years since Pope Benedict retired,
Yep.
completely unexpectedly, and I think a lot of us figured he was going to be dead within the year. Like this was and here we are. I think he's turning 93 this year, which is crazy.
Which could be interesting, because if he outlives Pope Francis, that'll be fascinating. Because it could happen. Like, they're both old. He could outlive Francis. Nobody knows.
And then what
when
would
you're gonna
happen?
die.
He would still be the retired pope, and they would still have a conclave to elect.
Oh, okay.
He's no longer Pope.
Cardinal Collins to be the next pope, really.
Really?
And he'd be Pope Patrick, because he'd take a good Irish name. Totally. I had like a whole good thought, and
It's gone!
all right,
If I punch you, will it come out of you?
probably. Ow! No, didn't work.
Darn it.
If I punching Father Mark, then maybe it would come out of me.
No, I'm not going to do it.
It's not excommunication for hitting a priest anymore. It used to be. Okay. So I work at St. Peter the Apostle High School, so named after the first pope. And it's interesting because from time to time I'll be in a class and be like, y'all know who our first pope was, right? I'm like, no. St. Peter, that's a real guy? It's kind of the reaction like, yes.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because, when I was growing up, and many years before I was growing up, when Father Mark was growing up, there was, we didn't necessarily know the Pope the way we do now, right? If John Paul II had a Wednesday audience and said something, I mean, there's a very famous moment where John Paul II talked about the need for chastity in marriage, and the Washington Post lost their minds about this. But people weren't nitpicking every single line and every single word that the Pope said, and
Or every single slap.
every single slap, every single moment. And so everybody jumps on these things that Pope Francis says. And it's interesting because if you look at one of the main roles of the Pope, I would say that the Pope's role is to keep us together. The Pope's role is the unity of the church. Where Peter is, there is the church. And I think one of the saddest things that you see going on in the church today is, in a lot of sense, we're living out Star Wars, where everybody's kind of dividing up into their own little factions to scream at each other and yell at stuff. And I mean, instead of doing it with science fiction weapons, we're lobbing insults across, using the Holy Father's words, our interpretation of the Holy Father's words, or what we feel is lacking from the Holy Father's words.
That's why you have to go to Instagram. Instagram has nice people on it. Well,
Problem solved. Okay.
Yeah, obviously all of it comes with how communication has come about, but also just I've noticed myself, I never grew up knowing who the Pope was. That wasn't part of my family. You asked me, probably until first year university, I couldn't have told you who the Pope was. I might have not even been able to tell you how to figure out who the Pope was and what their role was, which is sad, but that was my reality. But now I hear more, like me and people my age will probably find more things on Twitter or Instagram or wherever about Pope Francis and not like ever his encyclicals, which is too bad because, for instance, it's like, this is a weird tie, but like your Star Wars thing, like we're getting all the unedited version where he has great wisdom to say that he's probably prayed through and really wants us to hear, and that's the part we're not hearing. It's like, oh. Okay.
Whereas in past years, you know, if you read anything, I mean, I think you knew the name of the Pope growing up. The only reason I knew it was John Paul our Pope and Joseph our Bishop, right? This was in the Eucharistic prayer every Sunday. You'd hear John Paul our Pope, Joseph our Bishop. So remember, there's like a religion night assignment. What is the name of our Pope? And I'm like, John Paul. What's the name of our Bishop? Joseph. What's his last name? I have no idea, right? Like this is, or I knew him because he's the guy who came and confirmed me. And Archbishop McNeil was always like, oh, they dragged out the cranky old bishop to come and confirm all you guys. Like it was, you know, he always had this great East Coast way about him. But you're right. I mean, everybody gets fixated on his off the cuff stuff, and maybe misses kind of the beauty and the depth. And I mean,
I'm sorry. There's in the movie The Two Popes, the character who played Pope Francis. And said, well, you got all this ego and stuff. He made the comment, because he's Argentinian. So do you know how an Argentinian kills himself? He gets on top of his ego and he jumps off. And it was just such a very human kind of comment about where he comes from in his culture, and it was helpful to understand him. See, when you get someone's comments, you don't know the person. Like, I mean, like you know me and I know you. So if I say something, you know if I'm joking or you know if I'm serious, regardless of what appearance of emotion. You know me well enough to know that this is, and the same thing when we get in loving, caring relationships. And so it's this whole difficulty with social media is it gives you the feeling maybe, or the appearance of relationship, appearance of closeness and familiarity, but none of the substance.
So familiarity.
You just feel like you know these people, like the movie stars and so forth, because you follow them or on Instagram or Twitter or wherever you happen to be these days. But you don't know them. And yeah, you don't. I mean, and that's okay. I mean, these people just do stuff. Like some people make movies, some people are the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church, and he says stuff. And he says, and the thing is, I get lots of people, to be honest, in confession a lot, they come to me and freaking out about Pope Francis. And one of the first things I always say, I would encourage you to read what he actually says, or listen to what he actually says, even if you have to get subtitles because he's speaking in Italian, because it makes a whole lot more sense when you see him talking about what he's saying. And people can just calm down. It's important. We can be critical of the Pope. There's nothing wrong with that. But, just seek ye first to understand before you seek to criticize people, I think is a worthwhile goal all around.
Yeah, I would say like this is like secular culture too. Like where are we taking things for people's worth of, like, they just said this off the cuff. Like sometimes I say things on this video and I'm like, whoa, okay, I hope that goes well.
Well, sometimes I just say, I hope the editor does a good job, but sometimes he doesn't edit out the good things.
Hurtful things Father Mark said about me in the 2 videos ago.
It's gonna be okay.
Sorry.
But
I thought it was funny. I was complimenting you in the weirdest
if I was going to tell corny jokes, I would say things like, what did baby corn say to mom corn? Where's popcorn?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then make that face.
Especially that face.
But I don't do that often.
No.
Yeah. But there's like, what I'm thinking is, like, I know I have less of an appreciation for like the things that are put out that have like taken time and effort. Like, I think books are really great, but it's hard to sit down and read one and finish one.
Well, especially when you're in school and you have other books that you have to read for school.
Well,
and
that's true.
You're not getting the other stuff. Well, and the interesting thing is, there's a couple things to consider about Pope Francis versus his 2 predecessors. One is the fact that both his predecessors taught theology. And so there's a sense of when you're teaching, you're going to be very concerned about a precision in everything you say. Make sure that there's no room for interpretations one way or the other. And that's something that certainly, would be different, from Pope Francis, who is certainly a pastor. He's much more of a pastor than a professor, I would say. And the other thing is, I was reading a little bit about somebody doing a bit of a biography of Pope Francis, and he comes from the heart of liberation theology. And in a lot of ways, he's a moderate between what he would have grown up with in Argentina and what the rest of us are used to. And so in his mind, he's probably just running the middle of the road where everybody's like, whoa, and we got to pray for him. I mean, I think it's the one thing. It is a hard job being responsible for 1.5 billion of us who are very opinionated, who want things a certain way, who are used to things a certain way, and see that there are some real issues that our church needs help with. And there are people, I think we can all be guilty of fueling the fire rather than building.
They have to always ask the question, are you part of the problem or are you part of the solution? Are you trying to do something that will help? It's easy to pick on things. It's always easy to throw stones. It's incredibly easy to be critical. But ask the question of yourself, well, what am I doing? Well, how am I striving to make a difference?
But sometimes people think they're doing good things, and it's really just out of pride because they know what is the actual right thing. I'm smarter than the Pope. Who doesn't want to pretend to say that they're part of the
not even say
Pope?
Catholics or even Christians. I mean, people can be critical all over the map. One way you can protect yourself is C.S. Lewis. He made the comment about charity. He says you should give until it hurts a little. I mean, when you're doing something and there's a cost, then you can start talking about that. When it's easy, whatever you're doing that's easy, like making critical comments or saying things about it, if it's not some level of difficulty, then you're probably not getting it. And I think that's the important piece is once you actually, so I'm in leadership as a Catholic priest. I'm a parish priest. Yeah, I know. So I have a lot of sympathy for bishops and popes and because it's a hard job. And even our prime minister, whether you like him or not, or President Trump, whether you like him or not, I get this is not an incredibly easy thing to do. Somebody's going to hate you and love you all at the same time, and you have to be a leader. And so anybody who actually makes that effort to be a leader, to try to make real decisions, and at least sometimes even just make a decision when people are, the last thing they want you to do is any decision making at all, is I have a lot of respect for. At the same time, I can be incredibly critical and reactive to different things. I mean, I try to realize that I have to pray for people and I have to, what can I do that's actually good that way? It's so easy to get bitter and hate makes you feel like you're righteous, that there's something right, and it's not necessarily true. So movies is okay with, I guess, kind of get all upset about that. But if that's all you're getting upset about, then there's something wrong. Very, very wrong. Really, it's a first world problem. All we have to be worried about is how good Star Wars was.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. There's probably more serious issues to worry about.
There's a teacher I work with who dresses like a stormtrooper for has legit actual, he got paid to go be at Silver City for the premiere of the new Star Wars movie in his stormtrooper armor. The whole weekend. So
there's a question I've got to ask him then. Is it really hot underneath that stuff?
Yes. And apparently the legs, it cuts up your legs. If you mold it properly, you can't sit down while you're wearing it. And it's really hard to see out of those goggles, which explains why stormtroopers can't aim straight.
It would also explain why they're so angry all the time. So would you say, as part of our Catholic tradition, a Christian tradition, that it's an aesthetical practice to wear stormtrooper outfits because it causes you pain and suffering?
You're saying that I could become an aesthetic
by wearing a stormtrooper costume.
I need to tell Jen that I need to spend $1,500 on a stormtrooper outfit.
If you survive that would be a miracle up there with the miracles of Christ. And she doesn't kill you, shake her head and walk away.
Those are two very, very much the same things. Kill you, shake your head and walk away.
That is the reality of being a wife.
What is more loving?
That is the reality of being a wife. That there are moments where you want to kill your husband, but instead you choose to shake your head.
Every morning that she can make sure she can turn her head so she can shake her head effectively. She's dealing with you.
And the full eye roll that girls practice from the time they're 10.
I know. What is up with that? Is it genetic?
It's a power move, and I'm sorry about it for all the girls in the entire world.
I didn't know you represented them all. Usually just a small percentage.
They elected her president.
Oh, did you? Oh, Madam President, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I would have been more respectful. I've been asked, because I did that review on the two popes, I've been asked to go take a look at that TV show, the series of The Messiah, or Messiah, on Netflix. And one of the things, I'm watching this show, and this guy, what gets me is like, are people this, not gullible, that's not the right word, but so needy of someone to give them everything? You know, the danger always is, I mean, the whole idea is a prophet, a false prophet, who are we following? And then Archbishop Smith always says, who do you follow? Who do you listen to?
He's leading desperate people.
So this is a cult?
We don't know who he's associated with. He could be creating an army. Or he could be leading them to their death.
And then that's the thing about, us Christians, do we believe in Jesus Christ? Is he real to us? Are we come and become convinced, and that we choose to deliberately follow him, and let that challenge us? If it doesn't challenge you, then you're not hearing him right. If he doesn't console you, you're not completely hearing him right. But who do we follow? We use this expression all the time with Facebook, Instagram, so forth and so on, but it comes down to the essence of, what do you believe in? What do you follow, or do you believe in nothing? And how easily can what you believe in and how you live your life be torn away by someone just showing up? And this is the fear I think many people live in, because they don't want to deal with this stuff. They'd rather just be adamant, hostile people instead of. That's one of the things I found when I studied theology. I became much more able to listen to other people's points of views, because I'm not needing this fundamentalist or this absolute certainty in everything. Just realize, okay, let's listen, let's seek the truth, let's seek Christ, that kind of thing. So, I mean, it's a neat show. I recommend watching it, but I don't know if it sounds like it's terribly profound in what it's saying, other than it's making definitely the comment of a culture on this kind of stuff,
But it brings up the point that Sarah mentioned earlier about the fact that, so much of what we learn are the little snippets we take from, whether it's social media or, how many people's image of heaven comes from The Simpsons? Yeah. Right?
Homer Simpson, welcome to heaven. Now let's get you some clothes, huh?
I'm comfortable like this.
Yeah, well, this is heaven for everyone.
Like think about that, right? You've got these episodes of The Simpsons where Homer's up in heaven, and it's like Catholic heaven, and whatever. You got all these kind of little heavens here, there, and everywhere, and so you have heaven in the clouds, you have hell, amongst the Calgary Flames and other things like that.
Yeah.
And
already have the flames. Oh, it is cold right here.
But if your whole background on Jesus is the Messiah, the TV show, not the actual person, you got a problem. And how much of our culture, this is where we're taking all of our stuff from, is my knowledge of the church comes from what I read on Twitter or Instagram.
Well, and I don't think people are boldly proclaiming what I know about Jesus is what comes from the church. But I have so many friends who are like, yeah, I know who Jesus. I've read about Jesus. I know who Jesus is because I went to Catholic school. And you're like sadly you don't. That doesn't give you any any validation. And but also it's when you mention them, just called Messiah. Yeah, when something you said was people just want something that they think they want almost.
Well, there is a piece to us, as St. Augustine said, my heart is restless until it rests in you, my God. We often colloquialize it today. We have a big God-shaped hole in our heart. But there's something that desires that, and we run away from that, or we embrace that, and we do all sorts of things. But what it's amazing though is this, this is not the Jesus I know. And though it's an interesting kind of thing, he's not saying, when I first started watching it was C.S. Lewis's line that comes, either Jesus Christ is a lunatic, he's a liar, or he's the Son of God. It's really, that three kind of thing. And I'm just watching this, he doesn't say he's this guy, he just is this prophet, and people thinking and calling him the Messiah within Islam and within that. I'm going to look up on the internet once I'm done watching the show to get all the lines that he actually says, and just because I don't find any of his saying is quite terribly profound. It's just look at yourself in the mirror and you will see yourself, and it's kind of this kind of stuff that's not really Islamic or Christian. It's more Nary fairy kind of more. There's not Buddhism. Buddhism is more profound than that, but it's I don't know how to say that. There's a certain religion that people is popular kind of secular religion now. What seems like religion, but it's not challenging at all.
It's funny though because, well, I'm just I didn't intentionally try to tie everything in. Are you ready for this?
Go.
Okay.
Awesome.
Is that everything? No Twizzlers.
I do a left footed drum roll. Oh, I should do a left footed drum roll.
You did a right footed.
He always chooses the right. It's the beard.
But like, we always go into things knowing what we are like, without really fully realizing what we want to get out of it. So like, for instance, our Pope Francis, we expect something, and so we're kind of like disappointed when we realize he's a human and he's going to be different than the popes prior, like Star Wars and what other things did we talk about? Messiah. Just like we go in with a lot of expectations, but like we are not very good as humans at realizing that we are all human, and like we have to actually get to know someone a bit more rather than just like.
I might have thrown something out at you that I thought of earlier.
You teach me many things with your wisdom.
Just random thoughts coming up to my mind. But the thing is, though, what I thought was interesting, when you know someone, you get to know someone over time, a relationship, it's when they surprise you. When they do something that goes, oh, I didn't expect that about you, or you say something like, oh, that, those are the kind of pieces when you actually, for the first time, get to know them so much more. Because we kind of get these, like you said, these expectations of people, we kind of get comfortable. But when they do say something like, oh, it's hilarious. But actually you get glimpses into a deeper sense of who they are. So that's what my worry is with religion that's comfortable and the ways we pursue it in our modern world. It should be consoling, absolutely, but it should challenge you, and it should do both, because that's a real relationship that loves you enough to say the truth to you when it's difficult, but loves you enough to go all heart and into and to save you and redeem you and pick you up when you're falling and that kind of thing. It's both of those things. We easily, all of us, including myself, I just wanted to be comfortable. So sometimes God kicks me kicking and screaming to go and be better. But the thing is that, but it's in those moments that it's the moments God has shocked me and go, oh, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. Okay, final comment, Mike?
That's the profound thing about what it means to fall in love.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you fall in love, you notice someone from far off, and you can have all kinds of ideas of what that person is like, in your observation of them from far off. And when you go and speak to them, I think this is a von Balthasar example about faith, but when you go and speak to them, your image of them is tested, and sometimes some of what you've presumed about them is confirmed, and some of it is completely shattered. Sometimes to great disappointment, sometimes to incredible heights you never ever imagined. And the danger in sitting on the sidelines and just kind of sitting in infatuation and noticing this really attractive looking guy or girl across the way that you never actually speak to is you're now stuck in this illusion in your head. I think it's possible, that some people might wander their way onto this video or onto this podcast too. Maybe, faith is not something that's dear to their heart. And I think one of the things that we would hope is that you'd be willing to open the door and maybe start a conversation. Maybe start a conversation, maybe take a step and see what's really there, not just your perception, of the church, of the Pope, but particularly when it comes to the God we believe loves you tremendously.
Thanks for joining us on Left Footers. We are all going to be back, not throughout the season, and Father Roger's coming back. So score, plus that means beer for me. So I'm happy. Find us on Instagram and YouTube and the podcast